everyone. It's Attorney Dion Michelle Green for Love, Life, and the Law. Today we're going to talk about a serious subject. The subject is learning to live with pain. In a separate episode, we'll talk about living with emotional pain, but today what I'm talking about is physical pain. So, I am a retired Army service member. I did more than 20 years on active duty in the United States military. And I wasn't some hard charger who was kicking down doors and doing all of those types of things. I just did regular physical fitness tests. I was once at Fort Bragg, North Carolina for a period of time, and I, was kind of a what they would probably call chairborne ranger. I jumped out of an airplane before, but that was on a dare from one of my senior leaders. So I was a pretty typical officer. Did my job, attempted to do it very well, but it was physically rigorous, and there were a lot of things that went along with doing that job. So over the course of my service, I got little nicks and bruises, little stuff like breaking my finger. This is my saluting hand as well. Breaking my finger during a basketball game that we were having for our unit. I also, a bunch of knee and ankle injuries and things of that nature. Then in about 2008, when I was taking a physical fitness test, I threw my back out. Finished the test, but suffered a bit afterwards, and then over time, just some other things happened. I was in Iraq for about 15 months, burn pits, the typical stuff that a lot of people have to deal with, the results of. During the course of my service, I went to see a doctor about a lingering medical issue that I've had for a long, long time. And when I went to see the doctor, her words were something like this. She said, "When I hear people who've had that problem for that long, the first thing I think is cancer." My instant retort to her was, "I don't have cancer. And don't you speak that over my life." And I rebuked that in the name of Jesus. I literally said that to the doctor. But when she said it, it put that seed of doubt in my spirit. And what I ended up doing was talking to her about how we could find out whether I had cancer. And it was a very, very difficult surgery. She called it sadistic. So when a doctor tells you something is sadistic, you better believe that it's going to be rough. But because I kind of had that seed of doubt, I went ahead and allowed myself to have this surgery. And the result has been, I had the surgery, I think, in 2016, and I'm still suffering as a result of that surgery. So I learned a lot about what I'm not going to do anymore from that event. I ended up having to report her to the patient advocacy personnel at that hospital after the surgery was done, and she blamed me for the recovery not going well. And now, why am I talking about all of this? I'm talking about all of this because what I've learned is exactly what a friend of mine says. She says that American medicine, we're pilled up, P-I-L-L-E-D up. And you guys are going to have to forgive me for a second. I'm literally in pain right now, so I'm going to have to take a quick break so I can stretch and see if I can work through this to finish this video. So give me a minute. Real life in action. So as I said, a good friend of mine says we're just pilled up. And if I showed you all the stacks and stacks of medicine that I've been given to attempt to help me with the pain that I deal with every day, it's almost scary. One day I poured the whole bag full of stuff out on a bed in my previous doctor's medical office and said, now, if I took all of these in one day, do you think it would kill me? And she said, I don't know if it'd kill you, but it wouldn't be good for you. So I work hard not to take a bunch of medicine. But like today, I knew I was going to be filming, so I took some, and even that doesn't always help. So I bring all of this up because I know that there are people who are using illegal drugs or illicit drugs to try to help with the pain. I don't propose that people do that, but I understand. I know what it feels like to be in so much pain that you want to die. I know what it feels like to just break down crying because the pain hit you so suddenly that it was overwhelming. And I have a fairly high tolerance for pain. I mean, I was playing golf with a broken finger. I've been dealing with this back pain for years, knee pain, ankle pain, internal injuries, and pain for years. So what do you do? What do you do? This isn't the answer for everybody. I can only say what I do. The first thing I do is pray, because you all know my saying. I know a lot about a little bit. I know a little bit about a lot. But the one thing I know is you got to keep God up top. I also know God never allows anything to happen for nothing. If you think about the story of Job, at the beginning of that story, the devil asked if he could approach Job. Actually, God offered Job to the devil because he knew the content of Job's character. So I know that this pain, it has a reason. I don't ask a lot of questions of God. I do my best not to ever question God, but I don't ask a lot of questions of God. I just sometimes ask, what should I get out of this? And sometimes you have to give up something or endure something in order to get what you want. The other thing is that, I honestly believe that it's to be a testimony to other people. I used to work for the Army colonel who some of you may have seen in the movie Battleship. And incredible man. One time I saw him give a speech. He lost his legs in an ID attack. And so when he became the colonel over the post that I was serving as a legal advisor for, I would often go, sometimes sing the national anthem or whatever the case may be for some of the events that they had. And I one time saw him give a full speech while he was holding himself up by his arms. Another time he was laying a wreath and he was wearing his prosthetic legs. And as he was putting the wreath down, he kind of toppled over and he picked himself up. And I had already seen that movie Battleship, so I was well aware of the strength of his character and the strength of who he was as a person. And he said he didn't need help. He helped himself up. He thanked everybody for their time. He gave a wonderful speech, and then he moved out smartly, as we would say. So I often think if what he has gone through and what some of the people that I've known who were wounded warriors in different locations, if they can endure all of that, what I'm going through is nothing. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm downplaying whatever pain you may have. I'm just giving you an idea of how I attempt to work through the pain. As you may have seen, I started working out again, and I do a whole bunch of stuff. I go to physical therapy, I go to a chiropractor, I take naturopathic medicine, but I'm the best, worst patient on the planet, and I'll get into that a little bit more on a different day. I know a lot about a little bit and a little bit about a lot, but just enough to get on folks' nerves when they're trying to help me with my medical issues. The other thing is I'm working on changing my diet. Excuse me, your diet has so much to do with your health. It's the number one thing. The other thing that I'm doing is working on stretching a lot more. A friend of mine suggested yoga, so I'm going to work on that. And again, as I said earlier, because we're so pilled up as a nation, I work hard at not taking massive amounts of medicine, pills, whatever the case may be, to help control my pain. Some of this is mind over matter. But again, if you've got a migraine, you just have a migraine. If your hip is hurting, like my hip is killing me right now, or my pelvic region is killing me right now, it just is what it is. So what I would say to all of you is pain is real. As I said, I'm not trying to downplay it. I just want to encourage you that there are ways to deal with it in addition to whatever you may be doing. And I commend you for still pressing forward, because I can empathize and sympathize with what a lot of you are going through. And I just want you to know you're not alone. And hang in there. And get around some people that love you and care about you and are willing to look after you. And that'll help a whole lot as well. Ciao.